Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Unique Lives. As you know, every week we try and catch up with someone who's got an interesting story or something just different about themselves to tell us. So this week we're really privileged to have David Grant, who is a medium and a psychic healer, with us. So firstly, instead of me telling everyone what you do, what is it that you do? I mean, you're a medium, so who do you talk to?
Yeah, well, basically, I'm a spiritual medium and a healer.
Okay.
And it's quite a long story how I got from when I started off to now. But basically, in a nutshell, what I actually do is I work with people on improving their energies. Improving their way, their life in general. That's the healing side of it.
Okay.
On the mediumship side, I connect with obviously with the spirit world, and I bring messages across from people who want to make contact with people that are living here.
And are these two things, are they interconnected?
To me, they are, personally, yeah. A lot of people say, I'm a medium or I'm a healer or they're one or the other. Yeah. But I actually find the mix quite, I enjoy doing the mix because a story which I can tell you, I've often had people in for literally for a healing. One lady in particular, she was in for a healing. I proceeded to do the healing work, and as I'm doing the healing work, I've got these two energies with me, and two male energies, and of course she's in for the healing, and I'm reluctant to she didn't ask for any mediumship as such, so I'm doing the healing work. Saying to myself, I better not, I'll keep this to myself for the minute. But these two energies are very strong, and I knew they were going to interact at some stage. Anyway, finished the healing, got her sitting down at the table. Basically, I'm doing our paperwork, filling out our paperwork, and on the table is a pencil. And the pencil, of course, hasn't got rounded edges. It's hard to turn, In front of her, the pencil started to move, and it started to move. It was on a flat table like this. It started to move. And she noticed this, and I didn't, of course. I had my head down in the paperwork, and then she brought it to my attention. And then as we're both looking at it, it turns again twice. It actually just turns again twice in front of the two of us. At that point, I brought in, I said, listen, I have two energies here. I tuned into them, names, everything, how they sounded, everything else. It turned out that, she told me later, that it was actually her two brothers were killed in two separate instances up the north of Ireland. And
you described the two energies you could see to her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
And also the voices and their names and all sorts of information.
Okay.
So it's interesting. So I actually, a lot of the time I combine it if people want me to, or I'll do one or the other. Yeah. But I'm very drawn to both,
As everyone at home knows, this is going out live at the moment, so if you do want to get involved, feel free to tweet us at FECTV, or you can Facebook us or contact us, however you usually do it. David, my first question has just come in from someone called Jack Nee, who asks, are you a liar or just mental? You must get this quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
cynics.
Yeah, cynics, yeah. I mean, there is basically, and I class it as this way, there's people who are skeptical and there's people who are actually, they're cynical. And the problem is, someone who's skeptical has their mind at least open to accept the information and weigh it up in their own minds as to whether it's relevant to them or whether it makes sense to them, whatever. But someone who's a cynic, obviously, they're set in their pattern of thought, and you can't change them. So it leads nowhere. It's a cul-de-sac.
You think there's a lot of people who are just desperate to believe, though?
There is a certain amount of that as well.
Because, I mean, it's turned into a massive industry at the moment. I mean, people are paying ridiculous sums of money to get their fortune told and all these sorts of things. And they're just people who are just desperate for someone to tell them something's going to change. Yeah. I mean, I think, like, do you think most haunted and publicity seekers like that are what's probably making your industry less credible?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to, there's a lot of tags out there being put on some mediums at the moment. We had a very, very famous lady, Sally Morgan, there not so long ago, who was apparently caught with a microphone and an earpiece. I can tell you for certain, anyway. Anything that I would do, any people I would deal with wouldn't have anything to do with that. But there is that out there. There is that at times,
Yeah. Stephen Bradley actually just tweeted in to ask what makes you different from the rest of them. So.
Basically, what makes me different, I suppose, as I say, as I combine both mediumship and healing together, I think that's quite unique in itself. Also, I'm very honest. I talk from the heart. So anything that I give to you, it's to help people rather than to, you know, give them, you know, massively inflated messages. I mean, there's people who give messages that are totally, you know, ridiculous at times, you know, and you know, I'm very honest, I'm very straightforward. Anything that I give is quite accurate. And I'm also a nice guy as well. So if you ever want a reading, sir, just give me a call. But yeah,
it all, like, you have a day job, don't you? You're chemical sales.
I am a technical sales, technical sales manager, yeah.
But do you charge then for the work you do? I mean, this must be like a second job.
It is. For a long time, I haven't charged for it. But basically, you know, when I have my spare time now, I do quite a lot of work on the charity side of things as well. But I have to charge a certain amount of money for readings to cover my expenses that I have for my charity work, you know, because everything needs money, you know. You need to put fuel in the car, you need to put food on the table, you need to do everything like that. But you know, charge-wise, you know, I'm certainly not the inflated charges that you hear going on. You know, I mean, you know, people charging $700, you know, for a reading. You know, there's all sorts of inflated charges going on, and you know, I personally, I don't like that.
How do you feel about people doing that? I mean, it obviously must just put everything you do in complete disregard. I mean, it just brings down your entire profile.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is that element of people who charge a lot, and there is a lot of them there that do charge a lot, but you know, they're highly sought after too. So there is that element of, listen, you know, I'm very busy, I have a limited amount of time, I can do so many readings, but I can charge this. People are prepared. It's like a market. People are prepared to pay the price. People will pay it, and that's the way it works sometimes.
I want to bring it back to the start. How did you first, because you didn't just train to become psychic or any of these things, you actually discovered from a young age that you had these powers, and I think it was almost hereditary in your case.
Yeah, it turned out I basically only discovered that recently enough, actually. But if I'm to go back to the start, when you know, there's two particular stories that stand out in my mind from when I was a child, about 5 or 6 years of age. One of them is who I termed the Blue Lady, and we moved to a house in Blackhall Place, which is anyone who lives in Dublin will know where it is. And it's up the road from the Law Society buildings, which you know well, of course. And basically, in this particular room, this bedroom, when I moved into the house, first of all, into my bedroom, I noticed straight away the coldness in the room. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt a compression in my head, it was a bit like a pressure cooker, you know, really, really intense.
And
pressure.
how old were you at this stage?
About 6 years of age.
Okay.
Yeah, about 6 years of age. Well, basically, my father had got me a metal frame bed. And the first night in the bed, I tried to go to sleep, and I found it hard, of course. But you know, at some stage during the night, I fell asleep, partially fell asleep, and then a book fell off the bed on the floor, and that woke me. And I looked around, and you know, to my relief, I said, "Oh, it's only the book." So I went back to sleep. A couple of minutes later, this noise is all I can describe initially. It was like a whining noise, and it built up and built up and built up. And it was like basically a woman moaning, you know. That's what it sounded like to me. And, you know, for a child at that age, it's quite scary. But that wasn't the worst part. My bed started to vibrate and move across the floor. That was really the shocking part of it, you know. But I deal with this in my book, as I say. I'm writing this. It's a work in progress at the minute. But basically, in the story, or in what actually happened at the time, was the bed actually started to move across the room. And this lady would come on a regular basis to me. Now, first of all, my parents, you know, they consoled me as much as they could. Eventually, I developed quite a bad case of bronchitis. I actually got a nervous tick in my eye. You know, a lot of things happened around that, and there was a lot of bad energy. From my point of view, what I was picking up on. And
was this woman talking to you? Could you see her? Does she look like a real woman, or was she a blue or an energy colour?
Well, when I say blue, I call her Blue Lady. At the corner of the room, in the wall, you know, between the ceiling and the wall, I would actually see this blue glow starting up, and that's when I knew she was coming. And when she initially would form then into a shape, and I could tell from it she was about 23, early 20s anyway. But long hair was on her face half the time. You know, there was a lot of long.
Did you ever discover who she was?
No, I never discovered, and that's one thing which I'm determined at some stage to go back and find out. But I did discover many years later, and up the road from where Blackhall Place is, there was actually a mentalist, or you know, there's a place where people who are mentally ill or you know are kept as well. And unfortunately, the unfortunate thing about this thing is that as a child of 6, I couldn't help this girl. Eventually, I came to terms with her.
How long was she appearing to you for?
Oh, I'd say well over a year. Okay. And it was sort of and I sort of got less afraid of her. And actually, I remember watching an old program used to be on called Dano, Hawaii 5-0 with Dano and Steve McGarrett kicking, and that's what I learned to do. And that's the way was my coping mechanism with that. And then I had a guardian angel, I think, that came in with me and gave me like a protection. And I learned to accept it, but I couldn't help the girl.
But did you tell your parents when you're 6, you're like a small child, did you tell your parents there's a strange woman appearing in the middle of the night?
Yeah, but you can imagine.
And what did they say?
Well, they didn't really understand, you know, but a child of 6 years of age probably would have things, but on a recurring basis like that, and the fact I got very bad bronchitis, it was quite bad. But the other incident then from a child was my friend Harry, who I was at a family wake, and this man just walked into the room.
This is the guy you described as your guardian angel earlier on.
Well, yes, he's one of my yes, definitely is. And he would come in, and I could clearly see how he was dressed. He was like, you were right, you know, he was a real physical person as far as I was concerned as a child. He would walk into the room, I could smell his pipe, I could brown jacket, greased back hair, I could describe him to a T. This man just walked in amongst about 100 people, or 50 people in the room at least, and walked right out through the wall, the far side, disappeared through the wall. And I, Mammy, what's this? And got her attention. And my grandmother, I think, came out with a book, a family album, and she said, can you pick him out of that? And I flicked a few pages. Oh, that's him. That's Harry. And of course, my aunt, my grandmother, my mother all started to bawl crying because it turned out that this man had gone missing during the Second World War and was a relation of theirs. And they never had any information. He went missing during the war years, the Second World War.
Wow.
You know, so it was very, significant. And literally, the doll lady was the lead up to that. They brought me to this lady who was, I call her the doll lady, because when I walked into the room, it was a piano, and a load of...
You're still 6 or 7 at this stage?
Yeah, I'm still around that age, yeah.
So, and then she was a medium, and she's diagnosed you... She
probably diagnosed, but at the time I wasn't told the result of the diagnosis, but my parents, my mother, my grandmother,
This is when you discovered you had your powers, but you put it away then for a few years.
Yeah.
You managed to just lock it away, did you?
I did, because my mother took very bad when I was about 10 or 11 years of age, and she nearly died on the operating table. She was given, she was given drugs. She was given pills to take, which actually killed or actually weakened her kidneys, and she actually had kidney failure and multiple organ failure at the time. So eventually they brought her back to some sort of health, but I had to look after the younger siblings in the family, and I suppressed it for many, many years, until my mid to late 20s. My father had died, and of course the strange thing was, the day before I heard he died. I was on holidays, of course, in the Canaries at the time. I heard he died. The phone kept going off in the room, and I said, in the hotel room, and I said, what's going on? Ring the reception, and they said, no, we weren't trying to get you. Eventually, I got my mobile out. My wife, of course, locked the mobile away in the safe, because I'm a workaholic as well. So she took it and put it in the safe. Anyway, got it out. First message, Dave. Message from my brother. Dave, ring home. Dad's dead. So
that's incredible.
So
something made that phone ring, so you would look at your phone. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Okay, now that we established how you discovered you had these powers, and then after this incident you went to training and you did all sorts of things to hone your powers, or powers, is that even the right word?
Well, basically anything. It was like I was like a sponge. Okay. And I mean, there was an instant, as I say, after that, when I got home, as basically, I was half asleep after getting home off the plane, half asleep in the plane, half asleep on the couch after flying straight home to deal with my father, and this voice, and it was hello from the kitchen, which turned out to be a toy which he had bought my daughter. And I nearly dropped on the spot. I really nearly did. But anyway,
so all these things have happened to you when you were young, and then they've come back to you later in life.
Yeah.
Do you think that, do many people consider you're psychiatric? That's a big thing that we've had coming in, and I can see it on Twitter as we're talking. Yeah. People literally asking you things like, have you ever taken pills to suppress these?
Pills to suppress it? No. I'm not a pill junkie. I don't believe in pills at all. As most men would probably be the same. They, you know, they don't believe in, you know, taking any pills for anything really, where possible. You know, I mean, you know, headaches, tablets. You know, even I don't even. I use healing to deal with that most of the time.
Okay.
No, but I mean, there is a lot of evidence out there now that actually backs up the healing work, scientific-wise, backing up the healing work, and also backing up the mediumship. I was telling you earlier about the quantum. Basically, you know, quantum physics, which they have the entanglement theory, and they have a lot of other theories that are going on, and which actually, you know, bring it to the fore now that the energies, you know, they can understand how, you know, mediums can tune in to a degree.
We're actually starting to scientifically accept it, you reckon?
Yeah. I reckon that it's a bit like everything else. Science is catching up slowly, but it will catch up eventually.
Actually, Sully Ireland commented on our Facebook page to ask, how do you feel about ayahuasca and pills or potions basically that they use in South America and things that will bring a person closer to the spiritual world, or is that just like LSD?
Well, personally, I don't need it, so I don't have to do that to get it into that state. But there is definitely a you know, these people of ancient cultures have been doing these things for thousands and thousands of years. Who's to say, you know, I'm not going to tell them how to do what they do, but if they need it, you know, if they have this particular procedure, it's up to them.
So be it.
Personally, I don't need it. I don't have to do it.
Okay.
You know, so it's not something I would do.
We've also got a message asking, can you predict or heal someone who is feeling suicidal? Is there anything that you can, do you ever pick up on these sort of things? Because this must be massive.
Yeah, many times. I actually pick up a lot of on spirits who actually cross themselves over, as I call it, the term I use. A lot of them will actually hide from me initially because they're embarrassed or they're feeling guilty about what they've done.
Okay.
Many times this has happened. But I mean, suicide isn't a solution to the problem, because in my, you know, in a lot of people's, you know, in my head, everyone goes. You go from this life, you go into the spirit. You know, you go into the spirit side of life.
Does suicide have an impact on getting to the spiritual world or whatever?
It doesn't have an impact on it, but there's also varying degrees of suicide as well. There's sometimes people are actually in a state of mind, where they're not in control, full control of their state of mind, and they cross over. That is, you know, there's a different degrees of suicide, in my opinion. You know, but basically. Whatever happens to people, they're helped when they get over, you know, to deal with it. But it doesn't. It's not a you get out of jail card. You don't. You know, you still have to go through the experience somewhere. You know, if it's not in this life, it'll be in the spirit life, or else if you're reincarnated. You know.
Someone called Amanda Moore sent in a message just to say, should we be afraid of death?
Absolutely not. You know, I mean, there is. I mean, we all have our time. In the universe, we all have a limited. You know, we have our time set out to a degree. We can look after ourselves. We can look after our body, and as long as we live our life to the fullest and possible, extent that we can. And when I say that, I mean it sincerely, because I help a lot of people with difficult problems, with, you know, issues at times with, you know, either not suicidal tendencies as much, but depression certainly a lot. And you know, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't deal with. The psychiatrists will deal with that end of it, you know, with the psychotic people or the people who are suicidal. But people who are in a depression mode and they can't get out of it, I will help them change their energies. And I've just actually got a call today from a lovely lady who I've been working with for, you know, for quite a while. I was telling you earlier on, and she basically has changed her life around 180 degrees, and she has a fantastic job, and she's doing very well.
Okay.
And it's happened many times.
Do these spirits ever tell you what it's like in the spirit world? Does it seem like a happy place? Is it heaven?
It's basically, it's all things to all men. So when you go into the spirit world, you imagine, you see what you want to see. You know, if you want it to be a nice garden, you want it to be a nice beach, you want it to be. I often find that.
So basically, all the religions are right.
All religions are. I mean, to me, religion is not. You know, everyone has their own view of religion or angle at looking at it. But you know, it all originates from the same source, as far as I'm concerned. You know.
Quick question, because we are running out of time. But James Philippin says that his grandmother and another woman called Teresa Lewis are following him around in spirit form, and he doesn't know why. Basically, he wants to know what they want.
Yeah, I'll tell you, James, if you're listening, you know, they're trying to get your attention, and I often find that they will get your attention, and you know, it's basically you need to you know, see a medium or see someone to actually extract that or listen to what they're saying, they'll give you little signs to direct you in. And that's my feeling on it anyway, for you, James, because it certainly is a common thing that does happen.
Okay,
Very common.
well, that's really interesting. David, I'm so sorry I have to cut you off right now, but hopefully we'll get you back another time, because there's just so many excellent stories that you've told me earlier on that we just don't have time to put out tonight. But if anyone wants to follow David Grant, you can check his website out on davidgrantreikihealer.eu, or you can catch him on Facebook and Twitter. He's also going to be in the Cork International Hotel on the 22nd of February if anyone wants to see him there, but he's highly contactable. So again, if anyone has any more questions for him, you can also send them into the FEC TV page, and we'll also try and get in contact with him. David, thank you so much for coming into us, and thank you for watching us for another episode of Unique Lives.